Good morning, everybody, and I do apologize for the slightly late start this morning. Things are often getting away, but here we are. So today's topic is how to use the position size calculator and trade placer. So for those of you who already downloaded it and are using it in your MT4 platforms, I've found it to be a pretty good, very useful generic tool that you can use with any MT4 platform. It's one of the really big advantages of it. So you're not tied to any one broker's tools or what have you. But um, in any event, I think that some of the feedback we've received over the last months, almost a year, in fact, is that uh, there there are a few little niggles in terms of understanding how to use it. So what I'm going to do today really is walk through everything, including a brief discussion of the installation, and go from there. So if you do have any further questions, please pop them into the chat box. If you're watching this as a recording, then as always, please do use the comments below for any of your questions. All right, so yeah, we're just looking at a good old standard daily chart. In this case, it's the euro yen. It's been something we obviously been keeping an eye on. We spoke about it briefly on Monday in the market review, and we're looking for a potential for a daily impulse on this. As you know, on a weekly, we still have reason to believe that we're in an impulse wave of a trend. So last night's candle obviously giving us a nice impulse candle. So we're all ready to go. And in fact, as of last night, if you do it late in the evening or first thing this morning, you would have actually placed your trade at market open. Otherwise, you would have just used a limit order late last night, and that certainly would have also triggered. All right, so let's jump into it. I'm first of all just going to install it quickly. This is just the demo account that I use for, well, demonstrating, I suppose, stuff. So easy for me to be able to make mistakes on it. You'll notice, of course, under indicators that we don't have the position size calculator in here at all. So what we need to do is open up our data folder, which is where we can customize our platform, as I'm sure you know. And underneath, well, in MQL4 folder is where we have our indicators folder. Now, the position size calculator file needs to go in the indicators folder, whereas the PSC trader file needs to go in the scripts folder. So let's just go and find those. I just got to find them. There's somewhere here. I hope you can actually see the this particular window that I'm pulling up. I'm not sure if Zoom is showing the whole screen, or if it's just showing my MT4 platform. But in any event, what I'm doing is I'm quickly getting the position size calculator file, which you'll have downloaded from inside the members area, and then secondly also the PSC trader file. Got so many files here. I just got to remember where everything is. So just give me a second. I did actually look for it this morning, but it's a bit different coming from a Windows side. This is actually a Mac. There we go. Okay, getting closer, much closer. There we go. All right, position size calculator. I'm just going to copy both of these. By the way, the one thing that you need to be careful of as well is when you download these files, you're either going to be getting the executable file or the file that can be edited. If you're installing the edited file, you just need to make sure that you run the compilation of it from inside. I'll touch on that just now as well. All right, PSC Trader. Copy both of those. And I'm just going to open up the folder again, open data folder, and drop down to MQL4. I'll put them both here for now. Okay. So the position size calculator, I'm just going to drag it and drop it into indicators, PSC trader goes into scripts. Right, so that should do the trick. I probably need to compile these. If you do need to compile it, you just need to open up the MetaQuotes language editor, which is the top of, it's one of the tools in the toolbar. Open that up. Find our indicators. There's the position size calculator. Yeah, if it's an MQL4 file, you do need to just compile it. So I've opened it, compile. There you go, pretty straightforward. And likewise for scripts, PC Trader, compile, done. If you're having a problem with that, you just need to make sure that instead of having the MQ4 file, you get the script file and the EX4 file for the indicator. Okay, so let's close down the editor. Go back to our platform. If you have a problem with that, you need somebody who's a bit more techie to help you. That's fine. But yeah, it's one of those things where when you start fiddling with the back end to a platform, sometimes it gets a bit more technical. We're talking about probably unless you start programming for yourself in the MQL4 language, some of these things are the most technical. So in any case, either compile it or make sure you're using the EX4 file. So in order to get those operational, as you probably know, probably the easiest way to do it is you just need to restart the platform, which I'm going to do now. And I'll just make sure that you guys can see that still, sharing that window. Okay, hopefully that's working. There we go. Right, so if I open up the indicators folder again, then there we have it, position size calculator down the bottom. And that's what we're going to start with. So I'm going to just put it onto this particular chart. And by the way, the one thing with the position size calculator is you need to apply it to individual charts. So what a lot of people will do is once they've done all of the analysis and they know exactly what instruments they're looking at, they'll just go to the default chart and just open up one of those. See, I'm doing quite a bit of testing here. So let's just take this one and go back to our yen pair that I wanted us to look at. Euro yen, click, drag, and daily time frame. So there's no analysis on this, which is fine. But what I can do is apply that indicator. So as you know, there's a few ways to apply an indicator as well to a chart. I'm just going to do it with the good old slow way. I suppose maybe we should just use the button. There you go. An indicator. It's a custom indicator, of course. And wonderful. It's not showing over there. Let's try this on the left again. There it is. Position size calculator. I'm having a problem with this. It might be because it still hasn't compiled. It's wonderful when something goes wrong when you're teaching live, isn't it? So squiz attached to a chart. Works perfectly every time until I'm with you guys. Interesting. What's even more interesting is it's not showing up on this list over here. So I'm just going to try and restart it again. And if I can't fix it now, I'm just going to have to figure it out and come back to you guys with another training session on this. There we go. Let's restart it. It certainly is in there. Hmm. Right, so she's giving us some warnings on our compilation. So, folks, it looks like I might be using the wrong one. So I do apologize for that because we did have some errors previously, which means that I'd need to get one of those which is actually working. So please do bear with me while I go and find one of those. Of course, you shouldn't have this problem because the versions that you've got are fine. Right, looks like we're having some joy now. Right, so holding thumbs. Just going to restart this. Right, there we go. Okay, so that's what's supposed to happen. I'm just going to show you a different way as well. Click on the add indicator button, go down to custom, and there it is. All right, perfect. So it'll bring up this. You don't need to change anything. So all of that looks good. Just want to make sure. Yeah, so you could obviously fiddle around with customizing it, but honestly, just leave it as it is. Click OK, and that brings it up over there. So that's all well and good. You can obviously hide it as well if you want, but let's if you don't want that. Sick. Right, so I've just hidden it from myself a little bit too well. Try that again. Right, so hopefully my little tribulations here are also going to be encouraging for you. And hopefully it just shows you how to get around. And one thing that's very important, by the way, is that you do need to have the auto trading button here on the toolbar selected. So don't unselect it. You need to select it. Not so much for the position size calculator that we have here, but for the PSC trader when we get to that. All right, so there's obviously quite a bit to this. You really can, at the moment, we're just going to stick to the main screen. When we talk about other things in the future, I can show you what these other options are for, at least how they provide you with additional information. The swaps is obviously quite useful as well. All of this is relevant to the instrument on which chart this has been applied. So, you know, that's really good. In any case, for the moment, please do stick to the main section. And what I'm going to do as well is just show you how to place both a pending order as well as a market order. Now, the reason why you might want to use this instead of using the MT4 functionality, you know, especially new order or right clicking. When, as you know, if you right click on the chart, you know, it brings up the options to place orders and what have you. But the nice thing about this, of course, is that it works out your position size. Obviously, that's really the key to it. Now, If you're risking 1% per trade, or that's your goal, then you just need to make sure that this little box at the bottom here where it says risk percentage says 1.00. For those of you trading the funded accounts in the funded program, you will never want to go more than 0.2, certainly in the initial stages. And once you get up into the bigger accounts and you've built in a bigger absolute potential drawdown for yourself, instead of having a 4%, once you've made some money on it, you've got maybe an 8 or 10% leeway, if you like, in terms of absolute drawdown. Sure, you can start increasing it then, but certainly on the evaluation account, you never want to really go more than 0.2. So I'm actually going to put that in for our purposes here, which on a $10,000 account, of course, that would not even be $200. This being, as I say, this is just a demo account that so I don't, if I make mistakes on it, it's fine, but it's a $100,000 account. So 0.2% would be $200, and you can see it's worked it out for us there. Now, one thing I haven't done yet is told the position size calculator where I want my stop. So if we were trading the daily impulse, as you guys know very well, we need to just make sure that our ATR rules are in place. Let's just double check what that is. So ATR at the moment, we're looking at 172 pips on a weekly. So that would really be what we're interested in for, obviously, for our daily time frame. So let's just do the usual. And as you can see, if we were to drop this all the way down there, that's well within 2/3 of that. So our initial stop down the bottom here is absolutely fine. And obviously, as you know, we'd give a little bit of leeway there using our offset. Just get that out the way. Right. So that would basically be the stop level. We know that that's within our parameters. So the stop needs to go just below the low of the retracement wave, or the phase 2 down here. And just by using our little data window, we can see that the low was 128.17. Now, I'm just going to put that in here, 128.17. So there you can see it immediately moved down, that guideline down, showing where the stop's going to be. But we also want to have our offset over here, which is pretty close to being 2 pips for my purpose. So that's actually now correct for our stop loss. If we were going for our market execution now, you basically be ready with these numbers in advance. Because if you're going for market execution, you're basically waiting for the new candle, or you're doing it shortly after the start of the new day. Some of you folks are quite happy to, and there's no problem with this either, do it shortly before the end of the new day, or else, especially on the daily impulse, not so much the H4, but the daily impulse, you'll be placing potentially a limit order. But at the moment, we're looking at market execution, and that's why this order type says instant. And by the way, you can hide the lines, but it's nice to keep them out there for now. The take profit, honestly, not such a big deal. That's the sort of thing that you can come back afterwards and at your leisure add. We need to have the stop in place for the funded accounts. As you know, the rules, for those of you who got funded accounts, you've signed a contract where you state that you're going to have put in a stop loss within 60 seconds of placing the trade. So you may as well have it in there up front. Honestly, I really recommend that. In this particular instance, what we potentially would have been doing is placing a limit order late last night before you went to bed. So that limit order would have been at or around where the close of the market is. So that's what I'm going to be doing at the moment. And I know we wouldn't have known what that number is last night. Doesn't matter, but it would have been in that range. So close 128.972. All we need to do is change the order type, and now we are free to change this number. And there it is. And there's the guideline, folks. You can see now there's the guideline for the entry. There's the guideline for the stop. So obviously, because I'm talking through this, is taking quite a long time, but I'm sure you can just imagine that if you've got your ducks in a row, you know what these two numbers are up front. That's preset. That doesn't change. That will stay like that. Once you change that number, it stays like that. It's worth double checking, but nevertheless. And these are the only two numbers that you actually need to change, your entry and your stop. And of course, if you're going for market execution, you don't even need to change the entry. Well, you can't. The only number you need to put is your stop. Okay, so having said all that now, I just want you to see that this has worked everything out for us. We've got an account balance of 100,000. We've told it what our risk is. It works out that that's $200. And it then goes on to work out the position size on this instrument, which is, by the way, it's not a US dollar term pair, which means this is not $10 per pip. That's a big mistake people often make, is they assume that it's always $10 per pip per lot. It's not. That is only true if the US dollar is the term currency in the pair. And out of all of our 28 currencies, there are only 4 where that is true. So for the rest, it's a different number. And that's what makes this a little bit more tricky. But with this position size calculator, you're absolutely sorted. Okay, so that being said now, how does that, interesting, how does that help us when it comes to let me just get that fixed. Interesting. I'm going to do the close 128972 as we said. Just fix that. All right. How do we actually place the trade? So I'm just going to hide the lines now, and I've installed the PSC trader, but I haven't actually set it up yet. So you only have to do this once. Let's go and do that. And in order to do that, you obviously just open up your navigator, go down to scripts, maximize the scripts, and you'll see it here. So right click on that. We want to modify it. It will bring up a little menu item. Great, this is also giving me problems. Let's see if it's going to work. Great. Apologies, I suppose I should have actually checked that before I got into the whole position sizing thing. I'm not sure it's going to actually help us now. I don't want to restart if I don't have to. Okay, so that's actually the wrong one. Set hotkey, that's what we want to do. Right, set hotkey, apologies. There's no hotkey set at the moment. And I want to use, I prefer using, let's say, yeah, Alt's fine. I'm going to say Alt P. You could use Control P. Always good to have a Control key in there. So set, close. So just to refresh there, right click on PSC Trader, set hotkey, and make sure that under PSC Trader you set it the way you want. I'm just using P, it's personal choice. Also, I'm using a Mac here, so it'd be interesting to see if this is going to work with my Alt button. There it is. Boom. So I hit Alt P and it placed the trade immediately for me, correctly set up at the right levels with the right position size and everything. So let me just run through that again just to summarize how quick it's going to be, because obviously with me fiddling around and sorting this out on a platform where it was not installed, to show you how you can install it, it's taken quite a bit longer. So once everything is installed, by the way, just on PSC Trader here as well, you could also just right click and go execute on chart. That would actually have exactly the same effect, but I recommend that you just use your hotkey. And for me, that is Alt P. So showing the lines again, you'll see it's in exactly the right place. What I'm going to do quickly is just delete this. Right click, delete, delete. And what I'm going to do now is also just want to add in the take profit. So our take profit is, I think we were saying it's 172, isn't it? This is approximate. But yeah, let's go with that. Rectangle properties, I'm going to change that to that light blue. Parameters, it's basically that one. So it's the top one. And all I'm doing is I'm copying and pasting it into there. Now we don't need to have all of the, I need to have 3 decimals. There we go. So I'm going to show the lines, and there you have it. You can see the yellow line at the top is now our take profit. So I'm going to hide the lines, and I'm going to go Alt P, and there it is, just like that. Worked out for you with the correct position size, and you can see there it is, 0.26. It's a buy limit, of course. The trade placer knows that if you placing a pending order, a buy pending order below market price, it must be a limit order. So you don't need to worry about all of those things that otherwise you would need to potentially take into account. All right, so that really is it in a nutshell. I mean, it is actually very, very simple. It takes away all of the hassle and, most importantly, the risk of, first of all, working out the correct position size, which down here is 0.26. So the hassle otherwise would mean that you've got to get yourself another position size calculator. The best online one that I know about is MyFX Book. Obviously it's free, that's fine. But then as a member of GoPro Trading, this is also free for you. But there you've now got the hassle of having to go onto another website, transpose the numbers from your chart to that, including your account balance. There's much more scope for human error and so on and so forth. And it all just takes that much longer. Whereas using this, once it's installed and once you're up and running, all you need to do is fill in. Well, you don't even need to put in the take profits, as you can see. You can do that afterwards. But if you wanted to have everything in for your trade, you would already have your risk percentage in there. Don't change anything else, just that. And then your entry level, if it's a pending order, your initial stop, and your take profit. You just fill in those 3 numbers. It'll give you the guidelines, as we saw, just like that. And once you're happy with that, you just hit your, for me it was Alt P, your trade placer hotkey. And that is it, nothing else, simple as that. If you, just as I've done here, I always recommend that you test it on a demo account, just get comfortable with it, and away you go. So Mina's asking, does the MT4 buy and sell tool still work after PSC and trade placer have been installed? Yes, absolutely. The standard functions are still there. So quite right. Yeah, it doesn't affect anything else now. Right, guys. Any other questions on that? It's really important to reduce the risk of human error wherever we can. It is one of the biggest, if not the biggest risk that we face as traders, not just making mistakes by mistake, but making mistakes in terms of obviously our psychology and so on, which is what we teach you guys, is how to manage all of that, how to manage yourself. But the trade placer definitely reduces the stress. And Pino says, I've been using this. It's amazing. Yes, it is, isn't it? It's great. Absolutely. You need to make your trading as seamless as possible and to eliminate as much hassle. And of course, the other thing is, as traders, if you are being consistent, and particularly when you're trading strategies, once you get to the H4 impulse, there's a lot of work involved. You have to be there at the right time, and at the right time, you need to get what needs to be done quickly and seamlessly. So these tools really make a big difference in helping with that. Great. Any other questions? All happy? So as always, folks, if you're watching this as a recording, as I mentioned earlier, please do put your questions into the comments below, and we'll go from there. So apologies for the slightly late start today, and also for not being 100% organized and using the wrong files, but maybe that will help you even more in seeing not just what you should be doing, but what you shouldn't be doing. So hopefully it all works well for you. If just to reiterate something on those files, they do need to be compiled. That is absolutely true. Um, we might well be getting an update on this soon. If there are any updates, then I'll put both the uncompiled and the compiled versions in there. But yeah, I think many of you are using this very effectively already. All right, guys, I see there's no other questions for now. So enjoy the rest of the week's trading. I think we've still got some decent conditions. Obviously, it's much quieter than it was last week and the week before, but we've still had some good trading happening, and so far it's stacking up to be a decent week. Nothing spectacular, but reasonably okay. All right, folks, have a great week further. I'll chat to you all soon. Bye for now.